And we're rolling. Hey, Fade to Karma, it's Connor, and I'm the founder of Ample, this guy. And honestly, I just want to say I'm super excited and very pumped that that we're working together. And actually, when Tim and Dan reached out to me, I was hey, Fade to Karma, this is Connor, the founder of Ample, this guy. And I'm super excited to work with you. I was really pumped when Tim and Dan actually reached out to us because honestly, I'm really passionate about what your vision is, and I think it really ties into what we're doing. I have a lot of affinity for gaming, and actually for 4 years I was a raid leader at on the Thunderlord server for World of Warcraft, a raid called Legion del Diablo. I was a feral druid for 4 years, and it was fucking fantastic. So probably second best 4 years of my life, other than Ample. And so I really did hate actually this stigma that that gamers were not healthy at all. I at the time was a competitive athlete as well, but gaming was yet another aspect for me to compete. And so I love the fact that you guys are actually trying to create this health consciousness, but also in a way that makes sense for your sport. So today I want to just give you a little brief kind of primer on what Ample is and basically how did we develop it so that it does optimally fuel you. So as you guys know, here it is. It's powder in a bottle. You probably have had some at the moment. All you do is put water or milk in it, and then you shake it up and drink. So how did I think about this? And how did we create the blend that actually went into Ample? Couple things about fundamental biology, and one of I guess my approach in taking in creating Ample is basically to use first principles nutrition. And what that means is that instead of saying, hey, this ingredient does that thing, or like this ingredient has that benefit, which actually doesn't really tell you a lot about what that does to your body, I said, what are the fundamental aspects of your biology that make you healthy or unhealthy? And let's optimize for those. And so, yes, we can have a complete, comprehensive meal, but also we're considering the things that on a very baseline level make your body healthy or not. And those are basically three things. One is your hormonal response. So you've probably heard of like inflammation, you've heard of insulin and glucagon and how glucose stimulates all these things. Focusing on that actually helps prevent a lot of long-term issues in the future. The second thing that I focused on was inflammation. Inflammation is basically what happens after you get a cut, where your body swells up, and if you have bad food, unfortunately you create this low-grade inflammation that ends up creating effectively, well, I guess you could say, cytokine release in your brain that for a lot of people manifests as brain fog. So if you've ever had if you've ever had bad food and then you felt foggy afterwards, you're feeling foggy because of the cytokines in your brain that are actually basically creating this bad and negative response. And then the third aspect of this is gut microbiome. So you have about 3 pounds of bacteria in your gut that actually dictate everything in your body, from hormone response to how much serotonin and neurotransmitters your brain makes to how much do you how does your immunity do? So in fact, like 90% of the immune cells in your body are actually located in your gut, which is really important. And so if you can maximize how this like both the types and the amount of the bacteria in your gut work, you can effectively have that drive all the other well-being in your body. And so with these three fundamental processes, while thinking about how do you get the most energy, which is basically a function of how do your mitochondria work, that's how you think about nutrition fundamentally. And so this is where I was coming from creating Ample. Now, Ample itself has basically protein, fat, carbs, probiotics, prebiotics, and greens. And I'm going to just real quick kind of just tell you how all of these aspects fit into what we just talked about, and eventually basically say, all right, well, that's all well and good, but how does that actually make you perform and feel on a daily basis? Because honestly, that's probably what you care about a lot more than just getting into nitty gritties on like cytokine release. Um, so I guess we'll start at protein, because that's what a lot of people are very concerned with. What's the most important to think about on protein is if a protein is complete or not. Now, completeness basically means, does it have all of the 9 essential amino acids that your body needs? Your body is going to have something like 20 or 21 amino acids in it, but you only really need 9 of them, because your body can actually create the other ones from those original 9. I was thinking about a really funny Lord of the Rings reference about like 9 amino acids to rule them all, but I don't have it fully baked yet, so I won't do it on this video. But so whey protein is actually a complete protein, as is collagen. Collagen also has a thing called glycine, which is one of these that is very, very good for like skin and joints. A lot of times, actually, in professional gaming, as you guys know, joints can fuck up when you're doing like 700 APMs or whatever, and so having enough collagen actually is pretty important for that. I won't say that we created it specifically for games in mind, but I'm just saying, like, joints in all sports make a big deal, and so collagen helps with that. And then the last aspect is pea protein. Now, if we have 2 complete proteins, why do we need the third pea protein? Well, it's actually because it allows Ample to have viscosity, which I guess you could say is, well, it makes the thing thicker. One of the worst things that would happen, is that someone would have Ample and not be full afterwards. It's incredibly important that they feel satiated, just as much as they have the nutrients in their system. There's actually your stomach actually has they're called baroreceptors, and baroreceptors are basically like they sense pressure. And so, for instance, if your stomach is like all the way full, these baroreceptors at the top of the stomach will send a signal to your brain that says, "Hey, we're full, we're good now," and that actually sends a hormonal cascade through your system to like calm down the eating, desire, and also it sends some other things that have some physiological adaptations downstream. But anyway, what I'm saying is, feeling full is actually beneficial, not just in the sense of the fact that you don't want to eat anymore, but it actually does has physiological benefits for your brain. So we added that pea protein in part so that we could increase the full the thickness of Ample and make you feel full afterwards. So that's protein. Then we have the fats. Now, fats, for a long time, fats were demonized. But what's interesting is that if you're going to get calories, you basically only have 3 levers to pull. You could have protein, which honestly, having enough protein is sufficient, and you don't want to have all of your calories come from protein. You also have fat and you have carbs. Well, when you demonize fat, you basically only have one option. That's carbs. Now, having too many processed carbs has actually been shown to increase things like inflammation. And also, a lot of times, those processed carbs come with sugar, which has also had a ton of deleterious effects. So this demonization of fat has actually been very, very unfortunate for, I guess, all of American society. And so what's very important is to actually get enough fat, because also that's what your body can use. If, for instance, you want to go into a state of ketosis. I don't want to get into ketosis right now, but basically what we had was 4 types of fat that basically give you the complete and sort of optimal blend of fats. Because you want all 4 different types of them. You want saturated fats, you want monounsaturated, you want polyunsaturated omega-3s, and you want polyunsaturated omega-6s. And so we therefore have 4 ingredients that do that. We have coconut oil, which has the saturated fat, as well as MCTs. If you're familiar with MCTs, awesome. They're super beneficial. If not, Google them, because I don't want this video to run like 40 minutes long, which it probably will anyway. There's also macadamia nut, and macadamia nut is really awesome for a very good source of monounsaturated fats. There's polyunsaturated omega-3s. You guys probably have heard of those. This is like your fish oil stuff. And we get that through chia seeds. And then there's also omega sixes. Now, a lot of times omega sixes are actually demonized right now, and I think for good reason. The fact of the matter is that there exists an optimal ratio of omega threes to omega sixes, and it's around either 1 to 1 or at the most 1 to 4, and yet we as Americans, just a standard American diet, have something like 1 to 17 in terms of omega threes to omega sixes, and when that happens, what happens is that you have inflammation. Now, as I mentioned before, inflammation is this process that, yeah, you could have it if you're going to work out or you're going to have or you're going to get a cut. But you certainly don't want to have an inflammatory response every single meal you get, because that's when chronic issues come. And so limiting your omega sixes is actually the main way to stop all of these problems from happening in the first place. And so that's why we have a decent amount of omega threes. We have a limited amount of omega sixes from the sunflower lecithin that we have. The other thing that's interesting about sunflower lecithin is that it has this thing called choline, and choline is actually required for your brain to make a particular neurotransmitter called acetylcholine, and so that's one of the reasons why we have it as well. So basically, in a nutshell, we have fats. We have 4 types of them: coconut, macadamia, chia seed, and sunflower lecithin. All of them have a particular fatty acid that we're trying to go for, and combined, that equals a comprehensive fatty acid or lipid profile that allow your body and brain to be fueled correctly. So then we have the carbs, right? Now, as I mentioned before, we don't want to have too many carbs, because a lot of times, they're processed, and they actually create a hormonal response that basically increases your insulin, and that effectively creates, well, a blood sugar crash a little bit later. So, for instance, if you've ever had if you've ever had a bunch of carbs, a pizza, you feel good and then you crash. That's why you're having an insulin spike and then a crash, and that basically is your blood sugar that's crashing there. And then it also is sort of this like rebound effect. So as soon as your blood sugar crashes, well then shit, you want more food again. So you have to have like another freaking thing of pizza like 2 hours later, or you get hungry all the fucking time. So if you actually eat well, you're not a slave to your food. You own it. For instance, I literally just today got off of a 40-hour fast. So I didn't. It's a Thursday. I didn't eat all of Wednesday. But I'm able to do that because my body doesn't crave these sugars in the way that it used to. So it was actually pretty easy for me to do. I'm not saying that going on a 40-hour fast is necessarily the right thing for everyone, but I am saying that that reducing our carbohydrates to the point that we're not dependent on them for fuel, and that instead we can get that through fat, that's the thing that's going to make you be able to have long-term sustained fuel over time, over the many weeks and months and years that you're going to be a professional athlete. And effectively, this is and I mean I'm saying the same thing to NBA players as well. Like, we have several NBA players and also a couple of NFL guys who are in the same position, and it's the case for all athletes. So anywho, limiting our carbohydrates is definitely a good thing, because it allows us to get our fuel from fat instead. Now, we still need fiber. And so why do we still need fiber? Well, first of all, what's the difference between the starches and the fiber? Well, starches themselves, your body just absorbs them, okay? So your body's going to absorb this starch, and it's going to use it, and it's going to increase blood sugar, and for this at some points that's great, right? When you just work out and you want some carbs because your body is super depleted, yeah, sure, get some carbs, but not all the time. Fiber, on the other hand, is actually not for you. Fiber is actually the thing that nourishes your gut microbiome that I told you about earlier. So gut microbiome is this 3 pounds of bacteria in your lower intestine. They need food too. So if you think about it, you have your mouth, your esophagus, your stomach, your small intestine, and then your large intestine, and then you poop it all out. So if it gets absorbed into your small intestine, it means it's not available for your large intestine and all of the microbes in there to use it. so you want to have fiber there to feed these guys. The average American has basically 16 grams of fiber per day, which is about something like 5 to 8 times less fiber than have many of our ancestors who have some of the best, I guess you could say, gut microbiome populations like in existence. This is usually measured in terms of like how diverse their gut flora is, and this naturally creates significantly better, immunity and protection from any of these things like inflammation and brain fog and all that. Anyway, that was a lot of lead up. We have 4 types of fiber that actually nourish your gut microbiome. There's psyllium husk, which is basically from a seed. There's acacia fiber. There's banana-resistant starch, and then there's also inulin from artichokes. All 4 of these are actually different types of fiber, but they in effect nourish the gut microbiome. I wouldn't say optimally, because honestly, there's so much more research that needs to be done in the field of gut microbiome research that it feels disingenuous to me to say, science has figured it all out. But for all intents and purposes, it's the best way that science currently knows how to feed your gut microbiome. Now, feeding your gut microbiome is one thing, but also having the right microbes in general is another thing. And so this is why we actually created a blend of 6 probiotics as well. And so these are the bacteria that you eat bacteria, i.e. probiotics, and you do this through like yogurt or kombucha or kefir or whatever else the hot new trend is these days, and that basically gets these microbes into your large intestine, and what it does is actually changes the ecosystem of the gut microbiome such that you're then using you're then feeding the good microbes and starving the bad ones. And so we've chosen basically 6 of the most robust forms of 6 of the most robust strains of probiotics, and these are like the Lactobacillus acidophilus and Bifidobacterium and Bacillus coagulans. These are all just like super technical terms that you'll probably never want to know, but in case you do, you can check out our website, and it probably has all the information there. Also, I'm going to be creating like more video content in the future to kind of get people to really be schooled up on like what some of these things do, because ultimately I think what's important is that, and I know I'm doing a really shitty job at it right now. What I want you to be able to do is to eventually be able to talk about the benefits of Ample from the scientific perspective, as well as the, hey, it makes me feel good. So that when you're talking to your streamers, you can say, hey, look, here's what I feel, here's how I perform, and I actually know why I perform the way I do now, because this is the type of thing that's going to limit the inflammation because of XYZ reason, and this is the type of thing that's going to feed my gut microbiome because it's got a bunch of fiber, and this is the type of thing that's going to fuel my muscles and allow me to support my joints because it's got complete proteins and collagen as well. And it's going to make sure that I'm doing this for a long period of time, and that's because it has a relatively low carbohydrate content and a relatively high amount of healthy fat content, and that basically pushes my metabolic system in the way that is basically optimizing for longevity instead of just these spikes and crashes that most food companies ends up optimizing for. So that is my goal. I think actually that was a decent summary there. So if you just took that and ran with it, I think that would be good enough for your guys. But what I also want to do is I would love to hear your feedback after you get some, and let me know how you feel afterwards. I mean, we do take this very seriously. I consider this as much of a food company as a science company, and so let us know how you feel, and also let us know how we can support you. Like, are you having difficulty like explaining any of this stuff? And maybe it doesn't even matter. Maybe your guys are like, hey, I just drink it and I feel good, and it takes about 30 seconds, and so I can get back to my game in the time that it takes, a load screen to go away. And maybe that's all you need. But what I do want to make sure is that, I mean, I would say that my vision for this company and our mission is that we don't just give someone a quick tool and like kind of a get out of jail free card, but that we actually understand and explain the whys behind the whats, so that we can give people the tools to help themselves. The whole teaching a person to fish versus fishing for them. This is your fish, but I want you to guys ideally to teach others and to kind of like express this health consciousness, because you are the leaders in the industry, and if no one does it, well, I guess then there will, for a lot of these people, there will be no good health influences in their life. And so, that's my challenge to you, and I appreciate you guys' time and attention through this fucking long video, where I'm just fucking rambling for a million years. But let me know what you think. Let me know how I can help, and I really appreciate everything you guys are doing. Thanks so much, Fate to Karma. Later.